Hello there, welcome to part 4 in my 10 minutes at the piano series. If you haven't watched part 1 or part 2 or part 3, please go and watch them because the whole playlist is in order and this video won't make much sense if you haven't started from the beginning. They're only 10 minutes. In part 1, part 2, part 3 we're looking at how the mind is more important than the body, and that the piano is the least important part of playing the piano, and this is the problem. Many people jump onto the piano and start wanting to play scales very, very quickly and just start doing stuff and reading books, but they don't realise that they are maybe not prepared in their arms, in their arm muscles or their shoulder muscles. They haven't got a lot of finger dexterity, things which can be developed away from the piano before you actually come to it. I liken this to an army. An army doesn't train for a battle in the war. Doesn't train during the fighting. You train your soldiers before the battle, so they're ready for the battle. That's the idea. So there are many, many opportunities to develop your finger independence and your arm strength and your dexterity away from the piano, on your chest, if you're laying in bed, on your legs, on a table somewhere. You can do many different exercises in the air, just things to separate your fingers, and that's on the body. In terms of the mind, you must realise that it is normally your ego which is dictating what you do, and that's wrong. That's trying to poison you, and that is detrimental to your progress. You must realise that your ego wants immediate results. It wants to compare itself to other people to make sure that you're on track, but that's an artificial track, and you're going to be and you believe, your ego makes you believe that the books are the right way, that there's one method for everybody, and it's simply not true. Everybody has their own individual natural way of playing the piano, natural hand positions. There are some pianists who play with unbelievably weird, I mean I say weird for me, but weird for most people, finger positions and hand positions. Bill Evans, very famous jazz pianist, used to play with his back curved over. He looked like a cripple. He wasn't, but he looked like it, with his neck all the way onto the piano, like this. And other pianists play with very bent knuckles like this, and it's all very rigid, but it comes out well and they play well. That's just what works for them. So you must find your natural hand positions, and that's a process that happens alone, not with a book telling you how to put your hands. So that's if you look at video 1, 2, 3, that goes into more detail about the mind triangle: natural self, ego, and inspirational source. Inspirational source we'll talk about in more detail in the later videos, but for this video I'd like to go into more detail on the major scales and how from that you can obtain the major triad and the minor triad. I'm going to explain that in a moment, but the title of this video is, as you have seen, things that you can do with your fingers, because it's about time that you maybe have thought about video 1, 2 and 3 and you've started to do some exercises, hopefully, and you understand the ideology of approaching the piano from your mind and your body first before you go to the piano. So I'm just going to give you some basic things on the piano that you can go away with and play around with. But you must also do them on your internal piano, away from the physical piano, because that's where it all happens. But this is more of an experiment and an experience for you on the piano. So from the previous videos, you must know your major scales in all 12 keys. If you don't, you can't continue. You must understand visually that the major scales give you a roadmap for the whole piano. You're never lost. You can play in any key. You'll understand any piece of music. You'll understand all chord types immediately, all from the major scales. You'll also have lots of experience with different fingering positions due to the combinations of black and white notes, and it's the most important thing. You can't go on without knowing the major scales. It's like an artist not knowing what the 3 primary colours are and what happens when you mix them to become the secondary colours. I mean, it's just the most basic thing that you have to know before you can start mixing colours. Or if you want to make like a green or something, well, you're not going to know what colours to mix to make that green, And it's the same idea. You must know your 12 major scales. So the major scale template is from any note. Let's go from this note here. This is E. C, D, E. The letters are not important. We'll just go from this note here. I want you to see numbers. So you're going to find the pattern, which you have already done for the key of E, and you're going to go whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. I'll do it down here. From this E, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. You keep repeating this in your mind away from the piano is better, and then you start to put it under your fingers, and your fingers will naturally play it how they naturally want to play it. Okay, now from every major scale you take the first and the third and the fifth, always the same. This gives you, from the major scale, your major triad. Tri because there are 3 notes in it. So number 1, number 3, number 5. Recognise that shape, create an emotional connection with it. It just looks like, it could look like a rocket, for example, like with a pointy, you know, it's like a triangle thing. I mean, just create an emotional connection with it and you'll start to feel at home. And then you'll see that shape everywhere on the piano. So the white notes are 2 to the right of the 1 to the right of the 2 blacks and 1 to the right of the 3 blacks and the middle black note. Make out any image that you want, but know that you're simply playing number 1, number 3 and number 5 in the key of E. That's the only thing that's important. Now, what can you do with that? What I'm going to give you is not a way to play the piano, it's just something that the fingers can do, and something that the fingers do very often in many pieces of music, both left hand and right hand. That's called an open chord. You may call it an arpeggio if you go up and down. And we're going to do a kind of syncopated bouncing, and I'm going to demonstrate that now. And we'll use the key of E, which is a less common key on the piano, but a very common key on the guitar. So you know the scale of E, you found 1, 3 and 5. With both hands, I'm duplicating what the left hand does with the right hand, in the right hand. And what you're going to do first of all, just to get the feel for it, to find what natural finger positions work for you. Some people might use the ring finger on the black note here. I mean, I wouldn't do that, but some may. And you're going to do this. You're just simply going to do an open chord in both hands. It's just in the left hand and in the right hand, and then together. And let your hands find their own natural position which doesn't feel uncomfortable. You can try different positions. I recommend, generally speaking, that the fingers are below the wrist, or below the hand. The hand is a little bit below the wrist is a little bit below the elbow, and the elbow is of course hanging down from the shoulder. So there's a slight uphill slope, let's say. Generally something like that, but whatever's comfortable. And you want to do this. Now let's find another one. Let's go to the black note in the middle. This is called A flat. Flats go down like a flat tyre, sharps go up. 2, 3, so C, D, E, F, G, A, flat. We know the major scale. Start here. We're going to go whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Do it in your mind, away from the piano. Eventually you'll find the fingers that work for that. Don't worry about what fingers they are, just do it naturally. And then you're going to do the same thing. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, both hands. I'll do it down here so it's a bit clearer on the screen. But going up to the octave. So let's see what that sounds like. Very easy. Maybe move up. Move up again. So, doing this open chord style, I'll do it in the key of F this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You know the scale of F. And you're going to take 1, 3 and 5 from the major scale. 1, 3, 5, do it here. It's just a nice way to get your hands moving. That's the idea. Now, a very, very, very simple thing to do. Go up all the 12 major scales in the major and the minor. Now, I've left the minor until the last moment. Why? Because it's so easy, I don't even want to waste time talking about it. You take number 3 and you go down a half step. 1, 2, 3, 1 minor. Like that. When I said 1, 2, 3, I meant not the degrees of the major scale, but like first note, second note, third note. But in terms of the major scale, the first, the third and the fifth. First, minor, third, fifth. And then major, minor. Now do that in all the major scales. In every key. Like this, basically. Up to the next one. Minor. Next one. Minor. Next one. Minor. Do that on the piano, in your mind, away from the piano also, and you will become very powerful on the piano because the whole piano will be open to you. the second thing I wanted to talk about very quickly on the fingers is to simply bounce from the thumb. The first with the third and the fifth, in majors and minors, major, minor. I leave you with that, and see you in part 5. All the best. Bye for now.